5. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call, the Star Citizen podcast, where we talk about a certain topic sometimes, usually a little bit of the news, and then we open up our Discord and call to you, or allow you to call in to us, and we share our platform with you. The podcast came from the idea of like, hey, there was a bunch of like Star Citizen streamers doing podcasts, just sharing their opinion, and nobody really able to share theirs outside of that. And yeah, so we open it up for you guys. But what
it would be a
what were you
very
gonna say?
interesting. It would be a very interesting week where we cold call random people and ask them what their opinions on Star Citizen are.
Yep, that would be funny. But what'd you get up to this week, Croncy? We haven't talked since last week.
Yeah. The return of Wife Wednesdays this week was great.
Nice.
So
What'd you
we played
play?
a little bit of Raft.
Raft. Oh,
Which was
cool.
fun. Yep. I had no intention of going to a Magic tournament yesterday, but then someone wanted to buy like $140 worth of cards from me. And so I was like, oh, I'll play the tournament as well, and came second. Let's go. And then I also got told by the person who beat me, oh, prizes were terrible. I'll talk about that on my TCG channel.
Okay.
At some point this week. Yeah, it was
no
bad.
money. It was just like cards and stuff. Typically, are the prizes.
So I spent $30 on entry for it. But the prizes were so spread that I basically, as coming second, I got a playmat worth about $30 was my prize.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Tournaments
are meant to be top heavy.
Exactly, yeah. But I did get like a weird compliment that I don't think I've ever gotten before from my opponent after they beat me about them. They said that I've got a really good attitude, so I guess I'll take that. That's a good win.
Because you didn't slam the table or whatever.
Yeah, I guess I just didn't get salty. But like I had deliberately, like I didn't really originally want to play the tournament. I was playing a meme deck just because I was like, look, we're finishing early. Either I'm crushing you or you're crushing me. I'm gonna go home. Right?
I got a thing that might surprise you. Nobody has ever given me that compliment before.
I like your attitude, Mike. I think you've got a good attitude.
Thanks. Now it's
just don't find me ever playing FPS like competitively with you.
No, definitely don't. You won't see a good attitude there. But yeah, I mean, for me this week, I was saying before the podcast, that I'm feeling burned out just from the monotony of like PTU testing and week in review and just like doing the same thing every day. Not that it's hard, not that streaming is hard, not that doing YouTube is hard, none of that kind of stuff. Just doing the same thing every day and not having any variety whatsoever. I think that's kind of what it's been. So I was just like really feeling it. And then on top of that, it's like, I don't think this patch is going to be very good coming out. I'm really starting to go like, oop, this is going to be another Hathor moment. And so a little nervous about that. And then today I had a lot of fun. I mean, it was extremely frustrating, but I just goofed off in the contested zones with my alt account. Like I said I was going to play on my alt account in 4.1.1. I played it one day. And I was like, I told my chat today, if I play anything else, you have to yell at me. Like, because this is just stupid. I should just be playing on this account. Because the stakes are just higher.
How are they going at the moment?
Multiple times, like fuses being weird, randomly dropped a security key, it disappeared. Input delay of like almost 2 seconds sometimes, randomly, huge stutters, like just like death of 1,000 cuts. Like the experience is what it kind of should feel like. It was pretty intense NPC fights and the occasional player, right? Like that is what it should be, right? And but it was just like all the this is the year of stability, and they haven't nailed those things down. And
this was on live, right?
Correct. Yeah. I know there are some fixes for contested zones on the PTU, so fingers crossed. They're knocking some of those out. I remember seeing some with the door and stuff like that. But
that's good. But I am getting very sick of like the game being borderline unplayable a couple of like days before a patch release.
And a couple
You
days
know?
after, like, the day
Yeah.
of, the same thing, and
Yeah.
it's just like it's just been consistently like annoying, right? Like I
Mm,
think annoying would be the best word to describe the experience right now. Is like
yeah.
it's right there, but it's just annoyingly bad. But
Mm,
yeah, so that was my experience today, and it was all right. It was good, but I just I went I went there to get the checkmate pyro armor,
hmm
and they don't spawn. No enemies spawn at the end. They spawn like
Yeah.
wildfire throughout the entire experience. Nothing spawns at the end.
Something of the problem at the end. Okay, interesting.
Freight elevator was broken at the end as well. So it was just
Yeah.
like, I got the keys for the next patch, I guess, but I'm
hmm
yeah, I'm over it. So that was it. But I don't know. You want to get into what happened this week, because there's some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah. So
some
we'll get into the
interesting
topic a
things.
bit later. We'll talk about some of the news. I think we'll probably start with SCL because the other thing can kind of lead into the main topic. And it
How
was
do you
kind of just
feel?
those two things,
How
really.
do you feel after this
So
SCO?
yeah, so watched it today. Uh, it was just not a fun one for sure.
Very
My
technical.
chat were telling me,
Anything with the Yogi
well,
is pretty
just
technical.
not that it's just technical. It was just no good news. It was all either neutral or like disappointing.
I
You
think
know,
nav mode going away is good news.
to me that's like neutral because I don't know how it's going to like. I don't yet know how it's going to feel. Right, like that's where a lot of it sort of came from for me. Is like a lot of the information was like, I guess, kind of good, just in like, hey, we're doing stuff.
Yeah,
But it's like, all right, cool. When are we going to get to try it? And
yeah.
there was maybe a little bit of an inkling there. Yogi mentioned that all of the space flight stuff is done. The I don't know if it was the atmospheric stuff or the quantum stuff is like half done, but they need to make it work with NPCs. But then he said like he reckons he should get that within a few weeks, which I was expecting them to say months. To be fair, um,
The
so like
timing of the
maybe it's
show was
closer, but
weird. My critique of
mm,
the show mainly would be the timing of it.
yeah,
Is like, he was talking about taking out nav mode in Squadron 42 as his priority, and it's like, well, then it'll come to the
yeah,
and it was just like, well, why are we talking to you guys right now? I think it's just to soften the blow of whatever changes come. So
mm,
I believe like the purpose of this show was like, all right, here's some of the changes coming. We would like to talk to you about them. And when you do get it in your hands to test, you'll have an idea of what to expect and what to test, and maybe sort of what we want your experience to be. So it's not like,
mhm,
boom, I got hit with all these changes and I don't know what's going on. And
yeah,
that's how I took the show. It's like I I took some frustrate like the Jared. I feel like we get 15 minutes of show and 45 minutes of Jared explaining shit. I mean, like, you could literally see it here. It's just a lot of Jared talking and not a lot of the developers talking. And there was
it
a lot of that
started
this
that way.
episode. Yeah, it got
I,
better
I would
towards
say
the
like
end.
this. Yeah, the second half was very. It was very Yogi. Actually, it was like mostly
Yeah.
Yogi. I think the second half. But yeah, you're 100% right.
Yeah. On this, it's like, you got 3 devs here. We haven't had one of these shows in a
Yep,
long time. Just let
yep,
them talk, man, and it'll be cool. We don't need caveats every 50 seconds. We're not going to
yep,
listen to them anyway. Like,
yep.
he's been giving them
Um,
for years, and we still don't care. So just stop.
yeah.
I guess, I don't know.
There was a couple of things in it that I just didn't like the way that they were phrased, but to be fair, it may
Like
just be a
what?
phrasing issue. So Yogi at one point specified, we want to try to avoid a meta. You can't in any game of any kind ever avoid a meta. It is an impossibility.
Yeah,
What
I
you
think he
can do
was.
is to attempt to control it,
Yeah,
and
I think that's
like
what he
that's
means.
yeah, that's what I hope he means. Yeah,
Yeah,
because if you can control a meta, you can at least make it so that it feels a lot more fair to players. It gives people a lot more variety, regardless of how it works. But people are always going to gravitate towards one thing or the other. There was also a distinct lack of talk. Uh, PvP balance is incredibly important, 100%. and most of the show is talking about balance in regards to PvP. There is a huge issue in the game right now with PvE balance, where people are just running combat missions with Idris with laser, right? Just solo Idris with laser. That sort of didn't get talked about very much. And they also didn't like talk very much. Like the assumption would have been like you talk about that, and then in regards to engineering, and then maybe you even talk about how there was supposed to be a tech preview coming soon with engineering, right?
Yeah, but I don't think they would talk about engineering because it's not their. Even though it might be part of like they work with them, I feel like that they would just like not step on Torsten's toes on that.
Maybe, yeah,
most
maybe.
likely.
That's fair.
But the Idris thing is funny because I mean, Croncy, they paid for that power, right? They deserve to win.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was just like a massive part of it missing from the from the discussion in total. I think that even in regards to like all the new flight systems would be relevant. The only thing they kind of mentioned in regards to it was just, you know, the NPCs will also be using the system. It's like, okay, cool. So like, but like, here are all the issues that we need to talk about.
I was kind of more. One of the things that stuck out to me was they talked about the heavy fighter stuff a couple times, and I heard people like I heard Burks was really upset about what they said, and I was like, I always default to those guys. I actually haven't spoken to them. I need to speak to like Burks or Virgil or somebody about this, so I understand their perspectives. Where they were like, hey, we don't think the heavy fighter is in a bad place. We think the overall everyone else needs to be adjusted, and then the heavy fighter will feel better. And I was kind of like, okay, I mean, I guess maybe, like, my whole thing is
that's
like,
that's essentially saying the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
In a longer way, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, well, we want to address these other ships.
You can't say you like the heavy fighter where it is if everything else within context is bad, because that means you don't like the heavy fighter where it is. I think it's more they're just saying they want other things to change around it rather than it change around them.
Correct, which is more work, obviously, but all those things are probably needed, and it's whatever.
Yeah,
that's one that I was just kind of like, okay, I'll just like we'll let him cook and we'll see. I got very annoyed when they talked about the QT stuff. Like somebody was like, hey, what happened with the quantum stuff from 2023 CitizenCon? And they were like, well, you know, it's changed a bit and so on and so forth. And then one of my viewers was the one that started that whole thing where they got upset. He was in chat and said, so you threw everything away from CitizenCon, which I don't think was fair necessarily, but it was. Yeah. But their reaction also was not fair. Like they got immediately defensive. It's been 2 years. Your boss literally got on the stage and said, you'll have everything that you saw and more in 12 months or so. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, don't get mad at us, dude. Do not get mad at us for this shit. This is on you and not on us. It is not on anybody that was on camera, but whoever decided that whatever they showed at CitizenCon was no longer important. You know, and then they throw these people in front of the bus and make them take the hit. It's like it's getting old, man. It's like a lot of years of this. It's getting old.
I think in regards to that specific comment that they made, it sounds like they haven't axed it. Because they're removing nav mode, it sounds more like they've like compressed it maybe into boosting, like boosting becoming nav mode, kind of like at least in that sort of role maybe. It's
I come out of this with not more questions, but I don't know, I don't have any clue how we go from SCM to QT anymore. Maybe should I
we have one clue, which is just they mentioned as long as it's got power,
it's good
from your resource network. And it's like, okay, good. So like what does that work for me day to day? Like when I want to quantum, what does that look like?
Exactly. Like I wish we went through a more like step-by-step process, because I'm very curious as to, we're both industrial players. What does escaping look like? Right?
Yeah.
Like, does it require now, you know, it clearly will not require hold B, wait for your thing to spool. Like that is obviously gone because that is all nav mode stuff. So now what? It's I'm curious, right? That was the one that I feel like of all the things that I wanted to hear about out of what we got from that question, I don't know. And somebody, Officer Rondog from chat says, what does snaring look like? That as well, right? So there's a lot of like questions that I come with from there, and it was interesting.
Maybe there was like one thing that I actually was like, all right, this is kind of cool, was when they were talking about flight surfaces, and Jared brought up someone's question about, you know, the nose down on top of a bunker and just blowing people to hell. And it was specifically in regards to like how weight affects your like essentially like your angles and your takeoff and whatnot.
Yes.
In atmosphere. And it was kind of cool because it's like a lot of people want weight to really matter because of realism, but it also seems like they're using it to solve a gameplay problem, which I really like. So hopefully that works as intended. They use the example of like an Idris with like just stupid amounts of lead not being able to get off planet. But every other thing that it implies, it also like they talk about ground vehicles later and they don't connect the dots, but I did, of like, well, cool, if people can't nose down, that makes ground vehicles better. Awesome.
It makes just being in FPS better too. Like it just all around makes a ground location less shit. Because it, like, think about this now too. Even nose downing a ship that is on the ground has now become a challenge. More of a challenge, right? It's still going to happen. That has been one of my more frustrating experiences in my entire existence in Star Citizen is the moment you get out of your ship, that is your most important tool in the game. The fact that it can be just disintegrated with no ability to get it back other than going to the main menu and starting again is not a good game experience, right? So anything
that will turn people off again.
Exactly, right? Like, because you just get left stranded, and it's just like stranded with no way of getting back other than like typing in Gen Chat and asking for it, like all those things. Like, multiplayer game, I get it, but there's some levels of like I was playing alone, and I feel like in those cases I should be able to have some way to get back, whether it's calling a ship for yourself, an NPC to come pick you, or like just some sort of options on top of, you know, as what we just discussed of like making it a little harder to just nose down and kill everything around you, right? Just literally why the railgun exists. I had endless conversations in 2.0, I believe, and in early 3.0 of like being at Security Post Korea. That was our FPS area, and then you just had ships nose downing you and shooting you. It was horrible, and the railgun was supposed to be the equalizer there. It never truly did that. Don't tell Voidy I said that, but it all. but it was like that. That's why it felt needed, because it was so the disparity was broken. So I think that was one of my favorite discussions. It sounds like hover mode's coming back based off of that discussion. How do you feel about that? It doesn't sound like it'll be.
I never played during it, so
really?
I have never experienced hover mode.
Okay, so I'll give some examples. A lot of people were like, I liked hover mode, and I think they're having that like nostalgia thing, or like they're you know, had a brain aneurysm or something, because it was good in when they would discuss it just like this. Right? Is the moment you nose down, you start falling. The moment you the moment you went back, you also started falling. So you ever play like those like you have the little metal ball and you're trying to put it through a maze to get to the end, and you want to miss the holes? That was what landing was like. In Star Citizen.
I mean, that sounds terrible.
It was awful. Right? It was absolutely awful. The intentions were good. The idea of we want you to try and stay balanced or things like that. It was perfectly fine idea. The implementation was horrendous. So we'll see what happens. But I had a not a fun time with it. It was just landing in
Okay.
because you know how you like you come into your hangar and then
Yeah, yeah.
you would go like this and then your ship would just this is what it would do. It was just going all over the place. It
Just
was
like impossible to balance
crazy.
type thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like these are the comments that I can't handle. I loved it. They should have kept it and given some kids version for people who can't handle it. Like you were like the one person who sat there and took 45 seconds to land every single time and didn't want to have like a like again, it was not perfect by any means.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if you know the people who are saying that you are you have a bad memory, I think, because again, it's one of those things where it's not like an issue of like lacking complete skill. It was really
Mm.
bad, and imagine wanting to have that for a new player experience because everybody has to experience that. Let's just remember that, right? So
Yeah.
it was terrible. It was terrible. But it sounds like it's coming back in a better way. So I'm excited for it for the same way, for the same reasons that the person in chat probably loved it, right?
Yeah.
And I think it'll be a
Yeah.
better version of what we had before, which will be great.
Mhm.
Um, that's all I had
And
on the
then the
SCL though.
only
But you got more?
yeah, the only other thing that I wanted to mention from SCL, and it's kind of the transition into the next thing, is right at the end. Jared said that the new Prowler was coming out, and that it was much cheaper than the old one.
What was the price difference? I don't care about any of that stuff. I literally did
But
not pay attention.
I will tell you what, a discount of $140, yeah, that's pretty good. But $300 for a ship with 32 SEU of cargo,
Is
man, that's
ridiculous.
so what a steal.
What a steal, guys. What a good deal. All right, so good transition. Let's talk about the
Yeah.
Prowler Utility, which is why
Yeah.
we have come to the top. This is where I came to the topic of
Mhm.
the role of stealth in Star Citizen. How do you guys
Yeah.
envision stealth? Because the devs either are completely clueless, which I don't think so, or they know something we don't. And I just want to
Yeah.
hear what you guys use it for, how you see it, and is this thing even stealth? Right?
Yeah, so we'll talk about it, I guess, in regards to like what it does now and then what they say they want it to do, right? So
I don't recall them
uh
saying anything of what they wanted to do. So if you
just
remember stuff,
just like just within this, which
cool,
also
cool, cool,
these
cool.
ones are always like in universe ads, so like you
Ye-
can't really
trust
take
it.
like a lot of
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, you can't really trust them, but there's implications here, and there's implications from the video as well that they mentioned.
Can we say, let's
um
start with one
yeah.
singular positive before we talk shit about how stupid this ship is?
I have a couple of positives, but yeah.
Tractor beams placement, very good. Thank you, CIG.
Yeah.
Great job.
Yep.
Love that you're hearing the feedback on that stuff and placing them much better. Can we do it on the
Yep.
other ships now? And that would be great.
Yeah.
So yes,
Very forward thinking. The actual what are they called? The cargo grids. My brain just didn't work.
yeah,
The
they're
cargo
cool.
grids there are fantastic. They look really cool. The animation of when it comes down is awesome. The little like face hugger opening that the Prowler does.
Yeah, let me bring up
Awesome
the video so you can see it.
animation. Yeah, yeah. Awesome animation. Very alien. Super into it. The Prowler, yeah, that looks, it's terrifying.
It's awesome.
That's a cargo ship. It's just like, no, I'm just opening
Yeah.
up to get cargo. Don't worry, guys. Yeah, it looks awesome. But the Prowler was kind of always like one of the better aesthetically looking ships in the game, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
It just always suffered from like unplayability.
Except for when it first came out, it was the best dogfighter in the game. Remember that?
I did hear that. Once again, it came out before I started.
That's right.
But I
That's
did
right.
get a lot of that. But yeah, it's super dope. I think they did it. Whoever did all the stuff with this did an absolutely fantastic job.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
criticisms of this ship are because it is so damn cool. I want it to be usable. I want it to be worth
Yes.
playing. And this isn't like a
Yes.
min-max kind of thing either. This is straight up like, I don't think, I legitimately don't think they understand their game.
Yeah. So before we talk about the price, because I think that's a big part of this too. So the thing that they mentioned in this video and on the once again in universe advertising on the front is that it's supposed to be stealthy, which in game right now just doesn't really matter for cargo ships most of the time.
Well,
Um,
it could matter,
yeah,
Croncy. It could. I mean, it can absolutely matter. But uh, a ship of this size
yeah, exactly. Like
can't be.
you're not doing crazy, huge, expensive cargo deliveries. The places that you're taking them, even the ones that you have, the places that you're taking them to are no longer really an issue most of the time. Like a lot of sort of like concerning areas where you might want stealth aren't don't at least from what I've experienced recently have not been around uh many cargo locations.
Okay,
Um,
I am bringing up
yeah.
Urkel just to be like do
Mhm,
our due diligence here, right?
mhm,
How stealth works is, in case people don't know, these three numbers at the top over here: 4.6K IR signature, 3.5K EM signature, and 10.4K cross section, right? But cross section has three numbers within it. 10.4K is the largest. That is, if you're looking above it, straight down onto the spine of its back, right?
yeah.
9.7K if you're looking at it from the side, and a very small 4.5K, almost 4.6K if you're looking at it from the front. Now, these are preliminary numbers. I'm sure these are really small, especially if you're on mobile. Let me zoom in there for you
Mhm,
a bit. That's probably the best I can do. If I scroll down though, the zoom makes it really wonky, so I'll scroll out again. 30, then it takes those numbers and goes 40% lower, right?
mhm,
So great. But 40% of 10K still leaves you at a very significant number around 6K, right? And
mhm.
if we take an average of these, most of the time you're not perfectly head on. When if this is the scenario, like we have to think about the scenarios of how the game is played,
Yeah.
right? How is cargo hauling done? It is either done in a safe area, right, inside a hangar,
Mhm,
and then you leave, and there might be people around you within 6,000 meters, most likely,
yeah.
right? Or it's done at a distribution center. Same scenario. If
Mhm,
there's people there, they're going to be within 6,000 meters of you. Or it's done at an outpost. Same scenario there. They're going to be within
yeah.
6,000 meters of you. So no matter how stealthy you go, you will be seen. And if you're seen and they want to kill you in this, you're probably dead.
Yeah.
So what is like what is stealth then? It doesn't do anything. It's just this is just a cash grab marketing kind of thing. Cash grab not in a negative way. It's like they either plan to do it later or
Mm.
they just, or maybe they're just that dumb. I don't know. I have to put all the
Also
options
not
out
much of
there.
a cash grab because they are down in sales from last Alien Week as well. So it's
Okay.
it clearly isn't that successful of a
It's a
ship release
yeah.
at
I
the
mean,
very least.
my whole reaction to this thing was, can I find a way to make this thing work? And I
Yeah.
can't because I want to make
Yeah.
it work.
Yeah, a lot of my like I think it is incredibly cool. I think it is very fun to use. We you talked about the tractor beam being in a great position. It's awesome to use all that sort of stuff. But it is just a cutlass or a freelancer practically in game right now. Um and so it's very, very hard for me to justify anyone should be spending money on it. However, I will say there is a value to just it being cool, but to
Of
me, that
course.
value is in like a UEC price spike. Like I would spend, I don't know how much a cutlass or a freelancer are right now, but I would spend like twice the price of those to buy this in game, right?
Absolutely. It's cool.
Yeah,
I also like now if we go on cargo stuff, I don't see any missions I would use this for, right?
yeah, that's the other
Um
problem, right? Like all of
32
the
SU
32
is
and under
way too
SU
small.
missions, yeah, they're just the beginner missions because they still haven't really implemented a small but valuable cargo like thing, right?
Exactly. So it's just odd.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I argued with one of your viewers in your chat a little bit just now, where they were like, "Well, having 6K stealth is, or, being seen at 6K is better than being seen at 20K." No shit, right? Like obviously, but the
Yeah.
examples that I'm giving, like there's no argument against the examples that I'm giving that I can figure out. If anybody can make and I would love to hear anybody that could, if you can make an argument against what I'm saying about if I'm going to a station or if I'm leaving a station, if I'm going to an outpost or if I'm going to a distribution center and there is
Mhm.
somebody camping that place because that is a good area for cargo or whatever, maybe they were stream sniping, maybe like for any scenario ever where
Yeah.
they are there and I am there. Think everybody in Pyro when 4.0 came out. Remember that? Like all of the camped places, if somebody was there, they saw you. And if they
Yeah.
see you, you're dead. The the what have been the ideal stealth situations in the game? They have been motorbikes. They've been the F7A Mark II for a little bit, and they've been the Saber Firebird. Saber, like all of a sudden
Mhm.
you just have missiles getting fired at you, and you were like, "What? Hello? What?"
Yeah.
That's stealth. You have no
Yeah.
idea. Like you might know because where the missile's coming from, a direction, but that's it.
Mhm.
This is not giving that impression that'll be what happens. So that's what I'm trying
Yeah.
to say is like I want stealth cargo hauling,
Mhm.
drug running, or what would it be called? Begins with an S. Smuggling.
Yeah. Yep.
I want that to exist, whether it's a PVE experience and
Mhm.
or PvP experience. Like I want those things to exist, but the current mechanics don't allow it. So for me, it's
Yeah.
are you aware of this? And this is how we play, and this is how this experience will go, and you just don't care, or do you know something else is coming? And if you do, I would share that experience so this ship sells.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. As well as it also just being like so. Stealth is a gameplay mechanic I'm really interested in general. One of my favorite things that I would ever used to do in Eve was stealth bombers. They were a ton of fun.
I've
You
done
just
it.
pop
It's
out
cool.
of your it's dope as hell. You pop out of your cloak and then just yeet someone, disappear. Tons of fun. And that experience has never really felt like it existed in Star Citizen. Now, I've always had a problem with the way that they've done stealth in Star Citizen of it being signature based, only because of pretty much what you've just said. For the vast majority of Star Citizen's history, every place you will go and do anything, your stealth won't matter because you're going to be seen anyway. Like it's never been
You
a
just
case
get too
of
close to people. They're not big
exactly.
enough area. There's not a big enough play space
Yes.
at those locations.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So like you'll go to do a mission, but like so has two other people, and everyone's jumping in it's within like 15, 10 kilometers of that
Yep.
mission location. And so even if you have like a 6 kilometer stealth, it's still like too wide. You're still gonna get caught by someone, right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to talk a little bit, because I do like this topic. I wanted to talk a little bit about active stealth and finding ways to do active stealth in Star Citizen rather than just this passive where it's just your signature.
Me too. Yeah,
Um,
cool. This will be fun. This is gonna be really fun.
and also something that I would like to see in Star Citizen, which is system-wide stealth, which doesn't exist yet, but I hope will exist when we get more scanning mechanics.
Dude, grab the mic, take it away. I'll jump
Cool.
in
So-
between on like
Yeah.
on things.
Yeah. So active stealth. I want to be able to press a button and essentially go quiet. Whether that means I literally physically cannot be seen, but at a massive punishment, maybe I can't move. Maybe I'm at like 5 meters a second top speed or something
Yeah.
like that. Or even if it's like the case of like you can still get to within like 200 meters of me or whatever and see me, or even 500 meters, something a lot closer, and then you can see me. I would be really, really into that. I think it's really fun to have a panic button to turn on stealth as well. Like I've jumped into one of those mission locations in this Prowler. I've got a bunch of really expensive gear, and then I see two Peregrines, Idris, or something, like just crazy stuff. And I was like, no, I'm out. Pause.
Would
I
you
love that.
would you be, because I don't like necessarily the idea of disappearing from visual ability. That's just a
Yeah,
personal
I think
opinion.
there is a cool thing. Yeah, I think there is a cool thing of not disappearing from visual, where
Yeah.
like if I do pop in and you see me pop in and then my signature disappears,
Yeah.
and then you have to like physically try to scan to see me, that's kind of cool.
I kind of
So there's play there.
I kind of like the sort of elite dangerous mechanic almost with chaff
Mhm.
in a way, and like we have similar experiences now. I would love for them
Yep.
to be enhanced maybe a little bit, maybe better for stealth ships, or an option to do something similar where
Mhm.
what has stealth caused in PvP battles, right? Is the
Yep.
constant annoyance of unlocking somebody. I would
Yep.
kind of like that, but maybe that's more of an E-War thing. But the pip is so important in Star Citizen. If you were able to have the ability to make it disappear for a period of time,
Yeah.
it would be very, very powerful, and it would allow you to get
Mhm.
away, or it would allow you to get in and do your bombing and things like that. So
Yeah.
instead of camo stealth, I would love some form of, you can't lock me, you can't see my carrot for a little bit. And
Yep.
we do have that noise cloud thing, but I would love if the ship itself did something similar, if maybe is how
Yeah.
I look at that. All right, what are your other types of stealth, unless you want to go more on the active thing?
Well, so the reason, like, I used to think like active wouldn't necessarily work for Star Citizen, and that they would just continue sort of doing like you just stick with passive and see how it works. But then we got the ghillie missions, and one of the ghillie missions has us go to the asteroid
Yep.
or the cloud, and we are like jammed, or like we have stealth during that, right? That as a gameplay mechanic for a ship, I think would also be really cool in this sort of instance. If I
Yeah.
had the ability to sit, yeah, full low power mode, I am turned off, but my signature is now 10 times less, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. That is essentially an active stealth. And I would be really, really keen on that. It introduces really cool instances of um, ambush gameplay for both PvE and PvP. Don't worry, I'm talking about both in this situation. Um, that I think would be a lot of fun. And once again, sort of could be like one of those panic mode buttons as well, where it's like, yeah, seeing a bunch of people, I'll just turn off everything and just wait until they leave, right? Or try to wait until they leave. But then the big disadvantage there, because like you could say this is insanely powerful, whatever. If your ship is off, if your shields are off, and then someone does find you when you've activated that stealth, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You are just dead,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's a good trade-off.
Yeah. And I would love to see um the a stealth ship without stealth components should not be stealthy, is something I would like to
Sure.
see as well. Obviously, on the cross section side, sure,
Mhm.
because I'm assuming that's what the stealth ship itself would act upon or change or modify, would be the cross section mostly. Maybe give
Yep.
bonuses to the components or whatever, kind of like a suit bonus. Like the more stuff you have, the
Mhm.
more, right, that kind of thing. But yeah, but the second you put an industrial thing on, it's all over, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna get seen no matter what, kind of thing is what I'd like to see. But we'll have to see. I just, that's my feeling on the active thing. I like the idea of maybe
Yeah.
maybe the way they do it is, you know how like we go into the little gas cloud. What if
Yeah. Yeah.
what if like they press a button? We don't actually see the gas cloud, but you press a button on your ship and you just have one around you now, and that's it.
Yeah. 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 They just implemented it in like the classic jankiest Star Citizen way of just you
Exactly.
are an NPC now. You are this asteroid.
You are a cloud.
Um. Yeah. You are a cloud
They
now.
love clouds.
Um.
You just start
Yeah.
raining on yourself.
So yeah, I'd love to see something like that. I think that would solve a lot of the problems that I have with just the idea of stealth gameplay
Yep.
in Star Citizen. Once again, for both PvP and PvE, because I do want us to have more missions where like PvE stealth is also fun. And also, obviously, we're talking about ships today, but yeah, PvE stealth matters a little bit more.
Yeah.
So then I talked about so system-wide stealth. So the implication with scanning gameplay that changes every 6 months, but the implication with scanning gameplay is there will be a moment where you can scan down ships. Whether that happens or not is obviously completely up in the air. The
Long
game plays very
distance
differently to how it
probing
used
or
to
whatever
be.
they called it.
Exactly, yeah. It plays very differently to how it did 10 years ago. Um, but like if that existed right now in the game's current state, where you could see not necessarily where every ship was, but like you have a relatively okay knowledge of where ships are. To bring back Eve, as always, your long
They
distance scanning
they do
is
this
like,
incredibly well.
yeah.
To
So
be fair.
more or less, you can see every ship within like almost an entire star system. It depends on where you are, but a very large area. Um, but then you have to scan people down in order to actively go find them. Um, Once again, when you are stealthed, you can't be seen. When you're active stealthing in that. I think you could do in Star Citizen, yeah, you can see ships that are around. You have to scan them down to actually get to them. But you could passively stealth. Like if you have a cargo ship that is trying to be stealthy, you don't want to be picked up on those long range scanners, right?
Yeah.
That would be a benefit. That would make me use the Prowler over some other cargo ships because I
Exactly.
know I am not going to get hunted down across the system as often.
Yep. Exactly. The other thing, like just going back to active scanning too a little bit, is
Yep.
why I mentioned like smuggling gameplay and stuff, but I didn't go deep enough into it. Is remember when like NPCs would scan us for counterfeit cargo or whatever?
Oh
Like
yeah, it's been a while. Yeah.
a ship like this would.
I don't know if that ever officially got removed. I just haven't seen it in
Yeah,
in a
true.
very
It's just
long
the NPCs
time.
don't do anything or whatever. But
Yeah.
the idea of like a ship like this being one of those where like you just can't see in the cargo on these things. You just can't.
Yeah.
And there are ships I believe in Eve like that as well. That they're I think it's like jump freighters or something like that. You just can't
Yeah.
see inside their cargo, and so they're kill on sight basically because they might have something
Yeah.
good or they might not.
Might have
In a
nothing
game like that, and it's kind of like a little loot crate or whatever. But a ship like this could maybe, or blockade runners. Thank you. A ship like
Yeah.
this could allow for that kind of idea. I'm thinking
Yeah.
more of like a PVE side thing, but even from a PvP standpoint, when that the reasons to actually pirate somebody are a little bit more prevalent than they are now, it would be great. So
Yeah.
that's sort of my thought process there on that one. And I
Yep.
have no notes on the long distance probing kind of thing. Obviously,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So yeah, I think like I have a little disdain for them using like all stealth is just signature, but I think they can still use it to a good way. They just need to implement actual stealth.
Yeah.
Actually make stealth things, one, actually stealthy, but two, also punishing when you are that stealthy. Make it so that if you do get like, yeah, any IP, any fantasy, sci-fi, whatever, if you are being stealthy and you get caught out, you are dead. It doesn't matter who you are, like an assassin trying to kill a king, whatever, right? Like
Yep.
that's the whole concept of stealth, and you need to also be more punished when that happens. So
Yeah, that's why, like, in order to be stealthy, I really want to make sure stealth components have to be like the default because they just have so much
Yep.
less health and
yeah, yeah,
strength and all of that, right? Like they are
yep.
stealthy and stealthy pretty much alone. Um,
hmm
yeah, I mean, we've talked about cargo a little bit on that. We've talked about PvP. Is there any other kind of stealth that we would
I would just say, like, I think
guess
with
the
those
opposite,
ideas in mind, yeah, with those
the
ideas in mind, I
counterplay?
think there's also a lot of counterplay. Yeah. So, if you wanted to be the person, like, you don't want to get ambushed all the time. You're one big org trying to find one big org. You want to be able to counterplay a little bit. And you could do that through modules, right? You could have deep space scanning modules that specify in
Flight blades,
certain types of signatures. You could throw
$20.
fly blades in there, right? 100%. You could do a lot more give and take in there. There's a lot of fun ideas of variation if stealth gameplay really works heavily. I would maybe be concerned about a group of people like so let's say they do this, they make stealth actually matter. I can never be seen within maybe a kilometer might be okay, right? Further than a kilometer out I can't be seen, and then there's just like 6 people that ambush people, and that's just what they do, and it just works every time, whatever. There might be a concern about it with that, and I don't know how you would fix it. Eve's fix is you can't turn on your covert ops cloaking device anywhere with I believe it's 0.5 or higher, right? So you just can't do it. You actually just are physically unable to like gank that way. So yeah, that would be an issue I would see. I don't know if I see many others.
Yeah, and you auto get decloaked if you're in a within a certain range of any object as well.
Yes, yeah.
So there's plenty of things that they can do. I guess going back to SCL, one thing that we didn't touch on was it was very brief, but they talked about how with the new flight model stuff that they're going to get a lot more levers to pull on how they want to make ships differentiate from each other. This would just be another example of that, is just adding more options here gives you a lot more interesting gameplay. And that's just that. And hopefully we get to see more of this as we go. I mean, I don't know. It you know, last week was the funny year of stupidity comment, but like there's obviously been some good things that have happened this year so far. So would just love to see more of it, and would love. I just, again, I can't speak enough that the Prowler is a very cool ship, and I can't stand when they come on camera and say things and it just doesn't fit with the experience that we have at all. And like these are experiences that I don't like. Obviously the game's an alpha, but I don't see them changing that drastically. Like the locations are the locations, they are the size that they are. I don't see them getting, you know, tens of kilometers in distance where like if you're on one side and I'm on another, we might not see each other. Like that just seems not possible at the moment. So it's like these are the experiences we're going to have, right? So I don't know. Oh, the dog's breaking in. Do we have anything else that we wanted to talk about outside of just like Alien Week in general? Maybe some of the paints or something.
Yeah, I mean the
hold on, I gotta yell at her.
The Prowler, and they do look cool. So I'll give them credit for that. But yeah, I just there's no way in the world I can justify $300 ever for a Cutlass. Yeah,
no, it's crazy. 32 SCU, that's nuts. I know there's an alien tax, but like, what the heck? How much?
I'm so mad. I've said on this podcast before as well. I think I never believed in the alien tax because you could math it out. The combat tax exists, right? That's on every combat ship, including alien ships. The drop seat tax existed, used to, because the Prowler and the Cutlass Steel, right, were more expensive. And so the alien tax was actually fake and it never existed until like this week, where there's finally a ship that has no other benefits over anything else that does like similar stuff and is just alien. And so now I'm mad. They made me wrong.
Yeah. It's goofy. So I don't know, but I can't say it enough. I want it to exist because it is so cool. Like them coming on camera and saying all the things. If I was a brand new player to Star Citizen and never played it before, I would be so excited for this ship. And I'm sure people are going to fall for this shit and be like, I'm stealthy, no one's going to see me. And they're just going to get shot over and over and over again. Now, to be fair, I think a lot of the creators got this as a giveaway. I did not. So I have not played with it. So I have to go off of the numbers that I see. I can't go off of the experience necessarily. If you've experienced otherwise, I am happily I will be happy to just be proven wrong, because again, I
Yeah.
want it to work. I'm not, gonna sit here and just say I'm right. That the experience will be bad or is bad. If it's been great for you, I want to hear it. Definitely. Because again, I hope it is. You ready for calls?
Yeah, let's do it. If you guys want to call in to answer the call, and I believe we have, we got a little bit
We
of
got
room
some
at
room.
the moment. Go into, if you're on YouTube, in the description below, head on to the link, head into the green room. If you're over on Twitch on Mike's chat, you can go !Mike podcast, follow the link, and head into the green room and talk to us today about stealth and the Prowler and I guess flight mechanics as well.
Yeah. I was thinking that maybe we would be a bit more open today.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see how the stealth talk goes. I think that there's plenty to talk about here, and I think it's super topical for the week.
Mhm.
I'm glad we have something cool to talk about, because I was feeling kind of mad this week. But anyway, Cannibal's been on the line for the last couple of minutes, waiting nicely and patiently. How you doing, man?
Lost
And
a few
yeah,
hours.
yeah, that too. And
How you doing, Cannibal?
Hey,
hopefully you're
girl.
there.
Going on?
All right, we got to kick him out. He's got to go. He
Oh.
just said, "Hey, girl." All right, what's going on, man?
Yeah. Damn it.
So yeah, I did have a topic, but that was before I saw the topic of the week. We could talk about stealth. So I do want to lead with, I want to give CAG at least a little bit of credit. They know how stealth works a little bit better than our commander-in-chief, who thinks that stealth is based on shape. And wants to put a second engine on the F-35. It's super funny.
I
know nothing about.
Neither do I,
Gemini, dude.
and I don't.
Cool.
And thank you for ruining our
Yeah.
comment section. So let's move on.
You're welcome. But my issue with I know that a big issue with the Prowler is that, like, a lot of people point out its cross section's really big. But if you also look at its other stats for quote unquote stealth, it has really low EM, really low thermal, because it has how stealth works is in various parts. Obviously, there's disruptive shapes. So when people throw a radar signal at an object, it comes back, and that echo is what we see on the radar. That's changing how that radar signature comes back from the object back to the radar dish. You can reduce your radar cross section that way, and obviously the Prowler is terrible at it because it's this big bulky twin engine deal. But it has it. There are other ways to reduce stealth is you do certain treatments onto the
skin
hull
or whatever.
itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Your radar absorption materials, which is really popular with Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin uses radar absorption materials for the F-22 and the F-35. And it allows them to do things like sneak up. You hear all the little cool stories about, like, the F-22 sneaking up on two Iranian F-4s or Iraqi F-4s. It gets thrown around pretty often, but the issue is that we're in a video game, and they have. We can just say, well, Star Citizen has future tech. They have future radar that can just see things, and that's why when you're flying through an asteroid field, you can still keep a relatively good radar signature on whatever is in front of you. Because otherwise, your scanner probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference between an asteroid and a ship without combining the three different signatures of its cross section, its EM signature, and its thermal signature. Those sorts of filterings that it uses to identify, like, that's a ship, that's an asteroid. My issue is that, like, we also have missiles and torpedoes that use specific heads. So you have
Yeah.
cross-section torpedo, you have cross-section thermal and like EM, and there's not really any mechanics that, as far as I know of, that you can sort of mitigate. Like, if you shoot a thermal missile at a Prowler and you shoot a cross-section missile at a Prowler, they're both probably going to track the same way, right?
Not
I'm not a
necessarily, because
PvPer.
that's why everyone uses stealth power plants, is because certain, I'm assuming everything other than cross section was at the, I think at the beginning of 4.0, like, you just did not miss if they used anything other than a stealth power plant. That's why that became literally a meta. If you were not using a stealth power plant, you could not flare off a missile, or it was very difficult to. So I think that's how it works somehow. Basically, it's very simple. How all of the mechanic works in Star Citizen is whatever the highest number is what will determine the distance in which you're seen, and all those numbers are based on distance. So if the biggest signature is cross section for the Prowler, and you're looking at them from above, you're going to see them at 10K. If you're looking at them from the side, you're going to see them at 9.5K. If you're looking at them from the front, you're going to see them at 5K. And if the IR signature is relatively high or at a certain number, you'll need more flares to flare off a missile or something like that. If it's an IR missile, that's basically how it is. But flares also have EM on them as well, because I guess just to keep things simple. But yeah, I don't know. It's just what do we do? Because it doesn't work.
I want to quickly bring up a point, because you mentioned how you would not be able to differentiate between an asteroid and your ship. Good point. CRG, it'd be really damn cool if I could press a button and instead of coming up as a signature for a ship, I now come up as a signature for an asteroid.
Which brings us to our other point. Leo Pleurodon in YouTube chat was talking about that exact thing, and I was like, yeah, it would be really nice if you could, because it seems like how scanning works right now, you're scanning person's license plate and then you're getting back like their sort of stuff. Their information. It'd be really cool if there was, a black market dealer in Pyro that would rebrand your ship for you. Like, you can't, like, changing the name of your your
like
little,
this license is
hauler.
registered to an Idris. It's actually just Aurora flying around.
Exactly. Like,
what a giga Chad.
I have like a little Vulcan and I rename it to like Max's Pancake Club or something.
Yeah.
Which is a common strategy in like EVE. You just rename your ship to whatever you want. Some people don't read past the first title of what they're seeing on the scanners. Especially unless they're like combat probing, and then they're not on D-scan. But my other issue was, it feels like they talk about like realism and bringing it back is, how complicated do they want it to be at the end of the day? Do they want us to be able to like notch missiles in the middle of space when like cross-section missiles work like torpedoes in like Earth time, in our time, in our people place? That you fire a torpedo and it sees a shape using its sonar, but we don't really have missiles that work that way.
I mean, I think
so
missiles,
what do they want us to
like,
do, kind of?
Missiles in particular are like their own little beast that's still like, ever since like 3.14, they've just been so weird. Or even before then, just weird in a different way, I
think. Ever since 0.9 Arena Commander, it's either they've been overpowered or underpowered. They've never really existed in a way.
It does seem like they wanted, at least today, when sorry, not today, but when I watched SCL today, when they were talking about different ranged weaponry on multi-crew ships, because they were talking specifically about turrets. I think they just want missiles to be the long-range weapon. They want a medium-range weapon, and then they want regular guns to be the short-range weapon. And I think they need to bring back down the mechanics of missiles and then just turn them into a thing that works. that isn't like as crazily messed around with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
don't
no,
really
no.
need beyond we don't really need beyond line of sight for like missiles. It's just,
Mm,
hey, can we just have something that's simple that works like Halo 1 enemies? They just have a singular behavior, and the combined behaviors of all these singular things comes together and it works in a more
yeah.
complex way.
No, we
You don't
must
have to overbuild
overcomplicate
everything.
everything, and we
We
must
have
make
to
it look cool on the sale page.
we have
And
to develop for realism and then bring it back to this point of fun.
oh yes,
Which I will
Execute
say
this. Start-
has this
that's why I
been
was happy they
Jared
were talking
calling
about
the whole time?
when.
Secret
But yeah,
Jared call?
when they talked
uh,
about like the weight of ships using in the new system in the SCL, it did feel like that. It was like we're gonna put it to realism, bring it back to gameplay. And it was the first time that it actually felt like that to me because I was like, I can see the actual benefits to the gameplay, not just the realism here, which is cool.
Yeah.
the part 3 to that is the changes to how they want to approach ground to air mechanics and air to ground mechanics
Yeah.
when it comes to stealth. I'm an RTS gamer. My default every time a new ship comes out, I'm like, okay, where does this go in the stack of like, yeah, am I going to use this with other ships that are in the like build stack?
Mm.
Um, and for me, stealth is, hey, I need to approach a location. I can only use it to really approach from different directions, but people are always going to know when you're traveling from point A to point B. With ground vehicles, stealth means you are, more of a threat because you're just unspottable until you shoot at the person and either they get a radar ping and you can shoot back at them, or you happen to visually identify that there is a ground vehicle there beforehand.
Yeah.
Do they want to develop ground vehicles to be a threat or a deterrence? And the difference being like a threat being
They
a ground
definitely
vehicle that
do.
will,
Yeah.
yeah,
They definitely do. That was the idea behind making them super stealthy. In comparison, is like you just can't lock onto them as easy. You got to
Yeah.
know they're there, or whatever. There's be some other mechanics. I think they from at least from the standpoint of the Centurion and the Ballista and things like that, right? The
Yeah.
Storm, I think they definitely want those to be. I'm pretty sure there was like a detox video that was like omega awesome with the Storm or whatever. But
Mm.
Oh yeah,
I think that's
they
also
rolled
when
around with a
missiles.
couple of them.
I think that's also when like missiles were pretty broken and things like that too. But it doesn't really matter because the mechanic was, I think, actually going for what they intended, right? And that is
Yeah.
hard to see.
Yeah.
And missiles are dangerous because missiles should be dangerous, right? they're a weapon.
right.
Hopefully, they're dangerous. So
I think
Um,
part of
to-
making them a
to-
better threat. Oh, sorry, Croncy.
I was just gonna say to speak more on like why
and we should
like a
probably
better
wrap it up.
ship stealth would be cool there.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah, is all right. Cool. So they talked about in the future you're not going to be able to do nose down. Cool. Ground vehicles now have a much better time
Good point,
defending
yeah.
ground locations.
Mhm.
What's the counterplay to that? I bring my actual stealth ship, not my kind of stealth ship,
right.
and now I can attack those ground vehicles by coming in, and now they have to be a lot more
Or
careful,
radar ship.
around. Yeah.
That too,
Yeah,
right?
So, yeah.
Well, it depends on how if they want to model ground noise or not. But yeah, a radar ship. And then you bring in other electronic warfare options
Ground noise
where it's
already
like, hey, can I
exists.
put a
Just to jump in,
For sure.
it already exists.
Oh, sick, thank you.
Yeah.
Which brings other electronic warfare options like putting a laser pointer on the target and saying, "Hey, missile, you cannot miss. The laser is right there. Please."
Hit the laser.
You
Be
forgot that
a
it's
cat.
Star Citizen. The laser pointer doesn't account for Star Citizen.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. It vibrates up and down because the ship is desinking in the middle of the air.
Yep.
I was a solo mole pilot once.
All right.
yeah.
So yeah, we'll probably leave it there. It's been like 13 minutes or so. So
Yeah.
thanks for the call, Cannibal. We appreciate it a ton.
One last question.
Yep.
Can we get a food chat in the Discord?
Sure.
For a
Food
cookie
chat,
chat?
sure.
Sick.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
All
That's
right, man.
all.
Catch ya.
Easy.
Sign off.
Cheers, mate.
Later. All right. That was good times. All right. Our next caller is Riley.
Hey,
Riley,
Riley?
is Virgil going to be mad that you're here?
No, I don't
Okay,
think
cool.
so.
Cool.
I was so tempted to do something that would piss him off, but I was like, I'd rather not catch flack.
All right. Yeah. Riley's from Shadow Moses. That's why I asked, because I think he's
Love it.
yelled at me and told me not to bring you on, and I forgot until just now because I saw SM when I pulled you in. So sorry. So you enjoy whatever comes to you from this. It's got nothing to do with me. All right. What do you want to talk about? I'm assuming stealth stuff.
Yeah. That's
right,
the only
cool.
reason I hopped on was because I like to fly the Firebird, and
Hell yeah.
being stealthy
Cool.
is pretty great.
Yeah.
But the actual stealth implementation in game is very, very, very shallow, to
Yeah.
be honest.
Yeah, of course.
It's a good way to put it.
So I guess we can go from what is currently in the game to what should probably be implemented in the game.
Please.
And I'll avoid talking about missiles because that's a whole nother thing that I got really tilted about in 4.2. And I think you've heard me rant about it.
Yeah.
No, that was Burks. Burks heard me rant about it. So right now, as it stands, stealth ships have the negative EM modifier, negative IR, like negative 40%, which makes them more stealthy, even without stealth components, which is obviously stupid.
I don't hate that, actually. Cause I just come from Eve. I like the idea of like ships having
like base modifiers.
Yeah, base modifiers to them. But hey, we can differ in opinions. Totally fine.
Yeah, what I'd like is if you're running industrial components, that it's like, okay, well, it doesn't matter if you have a stealth coating.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But it's like if you're running military components and you're a stealth ship, then maybe it makes sense to have the negative EM compared to someone else running the military components, and that makes sense.
Sure.
But right now, that means that small bit about missiles. If you are, let's say, a Talon and you're running the same components as a Gladius, it makes it infinitely harder to lock you with missiles and you're basically invisible. And I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing to have in the game. But also I think it's extremely shallow because that also means that if you are, say, the Fury, like 2 patches ago, you have stealth components and you're so hard to see that it's like your lock range is 700 meters before you can see them, but you're shooting at them from a kilometer away, so you literally cannot see the person you're shooting at.
Yeah, there's definitely like these weird little. That's why I want to have the conversation, is because I don't think CIG has truly figured out what they want this to be, because some of the experiences are super good, like you mentioned the Firebird. I imagine it just feels correct. Like, this is what the experience should be like. I love this. Do not change it. I imagine some people feel it's like overpowered or whatever.
Just press the HK, please, if you think it's overpowered.
Yeah, it's not that hard, right? Exactly. But the idea of the ship being very hard to see is a very cool thing. But then you have weird ships like the Fury that just break that. And then what do you do? Maybe you say that maybe a Fury can't attach stealth components. Is that okay? I don't know. The only other thing
that ends up in kind of weird place.
Exactly. So it's a tough one. It's kind of the problem of selling the ships before you make the game, which is a conclusion that we come to very often, every week,
all
right?
the fucking time.
Exactly.
Yep.
If
don't
they
worry,
made their
the Prowler
game
Utility
first,
would be good.
Yeah.
If we had blockade running missions, too bad those aren't in the game. It would be really good if we had like long range infiltration missions. Too bad we don't have those in the game.
Exactly. Like if they would design the ships around the game instead of the other way around. Now they have to find a way to make this thing work, right? And it just shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, and the other side of that is also the fact that radar is so shallow. Like, so extremely shallow. It's kind of annoying because it's not only shallow, it's also buggy. So sometimes you'll just be pressing tab and you'll be like, oh, okay, I see this ship from like 2 kilometers away, and then he literally disappears for no explainable reason.
Yep.
And it's like he's a mole, and you're like, that mole definitely didn't disappear for no reason. That guy's literally the size of, like, I don't know, a semi truck. There's no way he just popped off my radar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's been goofy.
yeah. Also, I
So
remember
what would
Go ahead.
you can continue. I was just going to ask, what would you like to like? What's your ideal stealth gameplay?
Ideally, I'd like radar a lot more fleshed out so that you have ships that are dedicated to detecting those. And
Yep.
And sharing that
if I'm
information with your
talking-
party members would be
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is so much of a wishy thing, but
Yeah.
I'm also with you on wishing for that, where you have like, hey, you have a party of 10, you have one ship dedicated to purely being a radar ship, and that shares it with everyone else in your party.
or
That
a
would
number
probably
of
be my
players in your
ideal.
party, maybe. So then you
Yeah.
might need more than one, and I don't know. Like, don't you want to see situations where you don't just call out random targets in a fight? It's like, no, we have to take that one out first because that one's causing us the problems right now. Like, if you're a stealth
Yes.
bomber or whatever, or you're in the Firebird, what's the first thing you're going to target? You're going to target the radar ship, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of like the perfect ideal world. Do I think CIG will do that?
No.
I'm not holding my breath. Let's just put it that way. I'm not holding my breath.
Guys, I mean, did anybody, just to take us off topic a tiny bit, or a lot actually, for just a brief moment, did anybody else hear Jared say that the Gladius is a stepping stone ship that you start with and you won't end with in Star Citizen? And it was just like, what did you just say?
I don't recall him saying Gladius. I remember him saying the stepping stone. I don't remember if it was a Gladius.
Oh no, he said Gladius, and it was like, the Gladius is some people's, like, that is their ship that they're going to, like.
Yeah, that should not be a stepping stone ship.
Their stepping stones shouldn't exist. Let's that could be another topic altogether, but they shouldn't exist. And I can't with them. They are so frustrating. They're so frustrating. There's so many.
Everyone should get a Polaris.
Yeah, exactly. Like, everyone ends up in an Idris and just does bounties with them, I guess. Like, is that what you actually want, guys? Of course they do, because the store. But go ahead. Tangent over. Tangent done. Promise done.
Oh God, no.
I'm muting myself so I don't keep talking. I'm literally gonna go to the bathroom. I don't have to, but I'm gonna go take a mini break because I'm literally gonna explode. I'm so mad right now. Okay.
Wow, can't believe he's ignoring his guest. That's crazy.
I could never.
Yeah, it couldn't be me. But he brought up that there's no, like, he thought it would be kind of hard to implement a way where these small locations you'd have to be able to stealthily get into. I feel like that's possible if you were to just have cheating missiles on these sites, where it's just like, oh hey, you have a mission on this site and the anti-air is just this missile that can't be flared and can't be chaffed, but it has a limited lock range depending on the stealth characteristic of your ship.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of cool things they could do there's so many cool things they could do to flesh it out. It's also like, it's, at least in my opinion, because I've said before, I really like the idea of stealth. I haven't really dived into it that much because it doesn't have a lot of depth. It's just, put on the stealth modules, you have a little less signature, and then it doesn't, at least from my experience, it doesn't feel that different than just regularly playing the game. And so I wonder if there are a lot more people like me who would be interested to get into more stealth type gameplay if it had a bit more oomph, I guess.
Yeah, and side tangent purely on the Prowler utility. The fact you can't put the suits in there as quickly as I'd like is so sad, because that would be the best thing they could have done. Because they were like, oh, we're adding suits to the cargo grid, and then they were like, the Prowler utility has a small cargo grid.
Oh, you mean the Atlas?
Oh,
yeah.
I was like, oh, so this is their plan. They're gonna let you, drop the suits off. Yeah, I was
That's
like,
what
oh,
I
this
thought
is
it was gonna be. That felt like such a gimme, right? Is that this was gonna be? It's like, you've got the regular Prowler drop, and now you've got the Atlas drop, right?
Yeah, with the suits, and it's just like, oh, cool, this is sick. And then it's like actually a huge pain to put them on, and then it's a huge pain to take them off, because it's like, okay, well, you can't just detach them, because if you use your tractor beam to detach them, and you don't like pull it away far enough, it just reattaches, and you might
Yep.
just blow yourself up doing that if you're at speed. So that's
True.
great.
True. That's a
Like
good
that.
point, actually.
Yeah. So it's
that
like,
could be a game limitation.
yeah,
yeah.
that's the other problem, is that if you drop one of these things out of it, it literally just blows up.
Yeah.
As is usual in Star Citizen whenever you try to do anything cool.
Yeah.
Salt, God damn it, Mike! You make me hating Star Citizen now. Fucking shit.
Sorry, I have that effect on people. The other thing is like, can we make locations more stealthy in a way where like I mean nobody, there's no way people like that every time you, I mean we're gonna see it in this patch more than ever, is the like you just land a ship outside, leave it there, and it's just left abandoned until you come back to it, or until somebody blows it up. Distribution centers were like one of the greatest things we've seen, where like there's a literal ship elevator there, and I would love for there to be more of like the, you don't even know if I'm there because my ship is stored kind of situation too. Just to like a kind of loose tangent on stealth at the locations themselves, right? Is just you know, people could come to that location. You could be an FPS. They can't scan you down from a ship necessarily in that way. And you know, you look up, you go, all right, I'm just gonna wait until this person leaves. And when they leave, then you pull your ship out, right? Kind of thing. And like, and then maybe
And
it's
that
a
could be something
stealthier
with
ship.
active camo as
Yeah.
well, like Croncy was talking about, where it's like,
true.
oh hey, you're parked for an extended amount of time. It like completely makes you almost invisible if you have a specific ship set out a specific way. Where it's like EMs
or your radar.
nothing.
Yeah, your radar's like tuned to a certain frequency or something silly like that. And I don't know, but like more options on this, the better, just not overboard. And I think we'll be, and because you don't want stealth to become ridiculous. I mean, there's been
I don't want the current meta, which is everyone runs Slipstream, Vapor Block, Palisade Shields, everything else. Cool. Congrats, guys. Literally everything stealth components except for the shields, because the shields have a higher HP pool. Congratulations. That's it.
Yep, exactly.
Wow.
And I don't necessarily know if I like the like constant unlocking for, I mean, I think there's like a bug in the game where like you're constantly unlocking for no reason and you don't know is like that ship stealthy or not. I think that in itself of the bug existing should probably tell them that that would not be the best like counterplay gameplay in like a PvP scenario. So I feel like it's more of a being spotted kind of thing is where I want stealth to be, but then these other counters that are more limited, that you can maybe remove a lock from yourself for a period of time. Again, I pointed out Elite Dangerous, where it was like, hey, my pip just moves around wildly, but I can also manually aim and kill them. And hopefully with some flight model changes, there'll be less you know, backstrafing, and you know, it sounds like things will slow down even more potentially, and we'll see. So maybe we'll be able to do more of that.
Made me think about missiles.
Yeah, that too.
So you made me think about missiles. So I remember, because that reminds me, recently they made a post and they were like, hey guys, we're going to have EMPs be able to disable missiles instead of just flares. And I was like, okay, that's a step in the right direction, because then in theory, not every single missile type in the game will be defeated by pressing the H key, and there's actually some dynamic gameplay to be had with missiles, which there is exactly zero dynamic gameplay to be had with missiles, as they are the most basic thing to ever exist.
Yep. Or like, I mean, it would be fantastic to just go near a structure, fly lower, and all of a sudden things change with the ability for the thing to lock or whatever, right? So it would be nice. I definitely agree. I mean, that plays into stealth or the role of it, in at least it fits the topic, I think. For sure.
Yeah, but And it's like, I just do want it to actually have some dynamic gameplay, because right now, like I could see missiles actually being a lot more dynamic in like the choices of when you launch, where you launch, what type of missiles you use. Right now, it's I launch at this same moment I'd launch on any other ship at any other angle, and I use EM missiles because they're the hardest to flare, and that's the extent of the entirety of missile gameplay I just explained right there.
Yep.
And I'm not even simplifying it. That
No.
is genuinely the extent.
Somebody in chat
And
said, "Hear me out." EMP missiles. They existed at some point.
they
Yeah.
existed.
Yeah. They were around for a moment. They didn't survive,
But
but yeah. So
yeah,
Sorry, I'm now
they were a
thinking
cool
of
thing.
locking onto someone else's missile with my EMP missile to deactivate their missile. Let's go.
I mean, that's what missile turrets are for on
yeah,
Yeah.
the Idris.
Yeah.
So that's not too far off. But
no.
no, don't worry. Next patch, missiles are literally completely fucking dead because they don't know how to program missiles. Yep, I'm starting this rant. I'm sorry, Mike. So 4.2, they're like, okay, instead of doing what the real world does, what War Thunder does, what DCS does, what literally every other video game on the planet does, instead of doing a variable time activation fuse on a missile, we are going to do it based off distance. And it's like, oh, okay. Why is that stupid? Well, because I'm going towards the enemy ship with a missile, and it's because I'm
Yeah.
not fucking backstrafing them with a missile. I'm going towards them to make it so I'm like closing distance as much as possible to give as little time to react. And it's like, okay. So they coded it so when the missile impacts, it checks how far it is away from the ship that launched it, not how far it is from the point it was launched. So even if this missile was in the air for literally 30 seconds, if I am within 1.5 kilometers of the ship when it hits, it reads that the missile was launched like half a second ago. So I I literally can't play the game. It's not really playable because if I'm launching like backstrafing at 3 kilometers, they have like 30 seconds to react to the missile, and they're just going to press the H key unless they.
Yeah.
I can't say that. Never mind. But yes.
Yeah, there's probably some exploit. Don't say it.
No, not an exploit. I was just going to make fun of people, but
Oh yeah, don't.
Unless it's
But,
Mike or myself.
no, I can't make fun of you guys. You guys are on a good show, so I won't make fun of you guys.
Aw.
What a nice guy.
Well, speaking of a good show, you've been talking way too long, so we're going to kick you off. But we appreciate the call genuinely a lot. Thanks for giving us the insight a bit more into
Yeah,
current
PvP wise
stealth
and stuff.
and your opinions and stuff. It was helpful to have.
Yep.
Yep. Appreciate it.
Riley.
See you guys later.
Yeah, man. Catch you.
Catch, mate.
That was good. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, that was awesome.
All right, Snugs, if you can hear us, you are
Hello.
on. Hello.
Howdy.
You're on Answer the Call.
With muting the stream this time because I was prepared.
Very good.
Just a few quick things. I'm not a huge like combat pilot. I like FPS combat. I just want them so badly to get to a point where they're like, hey, this is what we think our semi-final flight model in Atmo and in space is. So I can actually start to take the time to really figure out how it works.
Wow, this sounds like a pre-master modes discussion. That's crazy.
But like I've always admired combat pilots. I think they're crazy and it's super cool to watch them play, and it's awesome. But like I just can't be bothered to spend that much time figuring something out for them to change everything after that. And a lot of it seems that they have good people, working on the stuff for Squadron. I guess maybe we'll see that in the PU in a couple years, but I don't know. Like we need something in our hands to test, and it's just like, are we getting this in the next month? Is this what 4.2.1 has in it? Like I don't know. Could have given us a little info or something. I don't know. But separately from that, on stealth, I think it's super interesting. I do a lot of cargo hauling in my time, so I mean, as people have said, like, yeah, it just you get your stuff blown up all the time, and it sucks because there's literally nothing you can do about it. And something that from the what was it, the SCL they did maybe 4 months ago on base building, really struck with me. Of They specifically mentioned in that there will be things at your base that you can construct to reduce the signature and visibility of your base, and vice versa. There are going to be things you can build to amplify, some sort of detection or whatever for your base. Obviously, that's PowerPoint presentations and people talking on team
that's
stuff.
heavy
So
concept. Right?
of course. But taking from that, I think it would be really interesting to see something of, hey, I'm a cargo hauler. I get to a place, I land, and wow, I can. Maybe there's something on the ship that takes some time and some effort and some resources, but I can deploy something next to my ship or inside of my ship that reduces my signature, and I hook it up to my ship's batteries, and it will drain the battery over time, because I think batteries is a part of engineering, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, it is a part of the resource network. We don't know the full extent of it, but we know that there is stuff to there is something that should run out, whatever it is.
Right. And so maybe I can set up my little signal thing next to my ship, and maybe I can only use it for an hour and a half before it kills my ship's battery. But it, completely reduces all of the emissions. But it's investment. It's not just a switch you flip on and walk away, right? There's a little bit of process, and like it could be destroyed, or if I had to run away, I would leave it there and I'd have to go buy a new one or craft a new one down the line, hopefully, if we ever friggin' get there. But we need more options. And I don't know. I don't. There was nothing in anything about the Prowler or that SCL that said at all, like, we're even thinking about this, and it was disappointing. To hear, like, I'd love to. Mike, I think maybe you have more hopium than I do of, like, maybe they do know something and have something in the works, but I've had that feeling so many times.
I just try to be fair. Of like I've whenever I've talked to devs, sometimes they've had that kind of conversation with me, but like, you don't know what we're working on, and it's like, all right, but I've also been here for 13 years and I'm still not satisfied with anything that you've delivered, so why should I be excited for what you're working on? I can only go with what I have, right? So I feel negatively
also, those devs
in that
don't
way.
know what might change while they're working on it too. Like,
Chris,
that happens all the time. Right?
Chris woke up on a different side of the bed and the whole game changes. It seems like. So it's I just want to give him the benefit of the doubt, because scanning, at least on the FPS side, has and radar and things like this have been actively in development for some time now. So hopefully they're like legitimately thinking about it, right? And
and my like extra for that is the ghillie mission having an actual like stealth mechanic in it speaks to at least something of like them being in the forefront of their mind, I guess, that they want to use this for also PvE.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that was super cool. I think the next step, again, in my mind, is like, give us the tools to do that in a more sandbox capacity, right? Because like, I think the ghillie missions are great, and I agree with you. It was nice to see the silvery cloud things they had. It was super cool. But when I'm on that mission for the 25th time grinding script for Wikello, it just it's like, oh great, it's in the same place next to the same base, and I just a little more of our ability to do that in combat or eventually down the line in a base raid or something like that. Like, it's hopefully we see something like that. I actually, on the Prowler, want to give CIG a little bit of props for not making a Prowler variant that could drop Atlases specifically, because I think that would have been it's so pay to win. if that had been a thing in the game, and I think maybe they could have done it. And I like.
There's not. I'm sorry. There's no way that's pay to win. You need so many people to make that even relevant, and atlases aren't good.
The Icties?
Yeah, they're not good. Like in what instance are you dropping a bunch of them and winning a situation that can't also just be won by taking your ship and doing this?
Well, I'm talking about for 4.2 specifically.
Sure, that's still that's what I'm saying. It's still not that would never be pay to win because they're garbage.
But I've had an opposite experience every time I've been at the few times I've come across players that are in Icties, I got demolished by them.
Did you shoot them in a ship?
No. Like me on foot
exactly.
versus them in an Icty.
Yeah, sure. So I'm still saying, like, just shooting in that exact same instance. If a ship just shot at you, that would be better for them. They would have won harder. That's all I'm saying. So I don't think it would be remotely pay to win. What it would be is possibly too restrictive if it was a just an Icty like dropship. Because like then what else are you using? Like you're only using the ship for that. At least this gives you the ability to use it for different types of cargo.
That's a good point, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Fair. I see your point. I'm yeah. Okay. But one other thing, and this will be my last thing. I'm getting very frustrated, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this because I've been around. You guys, excuse me, you have been around longer than I have. I'm the SCL and ISC content with. I hate to be critical of him, but like with Jared specifically, is I'm really getting frustrated with all of the moaning about how hard game development is. And all of the disclaimers. Like it just and I'm not trying to be critical of Jared personally in what I'm saying, because I think he's a really nice guy and he's done a lot for the community and that's really wonderful. But like it's been over a decade and hundreds of millions of dollars, and a lot of the people, you didn't take random people off of the street and say you're a game developer now, right? Like a lot of the times CIG seems to be hiring people who have previous game development experience. Like if you go look at their job posting, the requirements for most of those job postings is that you've already worked on big games or shipped games, especially for people in more senior like production and management level positions. Like I know that you're trying something very ambitious and the clouds in 4.2 with rain absolutely took my breath away the first time I saw them. It was really cool, and it was something that looked better than any other game's clouds I have ever seen in my entire life. I will happily give it up to them for that.
And the fact that it's dynamic too.
Of course. I mean, it's amazing. I think like, oh my god, I can't wait to 5 years from now maybe have my base in one of these and look out the window while I'm crafting something and see a thunderstorm. Like, it's going to be so cool. Like, of course. But I don't know what has to happen because I feel like we're at a point where all of the hemming and hawing and the half an hour of disclaimers that's in every piece of video content they put out about stuff, it's actively taking away from the video content. Because there's so much of game development's so hard and it's our plan right now, but things could change. I know it's so icky whenever I have to listen to it. Like I don't know, and maybe that's how far gone the community is, that the backlash is so bad that they need to do it. Maybe I don't know.
No. In almost every instance, it's Jared responding to Twitch chat, which both myself and Mike as Twitch streamers can confirm. A lot of the times, just don't. It's not like there's just no reason to.
Yeah, like I'm typing in Twitch chat if I feel like responding to them. Like some guy was adding me in Discord while I'm on a podcast, or adding me in the chat while I'm on a podcast. I'm like, why are you adding me? Like, because you want your one comment to fit out of the other couple hundred people that are here? Like, why are you special? Don't do that, right? Like little things like that. But like, I wouldn't normally make that comment during the podcast, right? And
it takes away from the experience.
yeah,
right?
not only was he doing caveats, but he like commented on Twitch chat like 5 different times, and it was never a positive one. It was always ooh, I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it, and it's gonna get taken the wrong way, and he's gonna take it personally. And you know what? I don't give a fuck anymore. It's like you aren't fit for the job, if that's the case. Not that you're not fit for his job. His job, he does a fantastic job at. But that specific moment, close the chat. You are not fit for this. If you're gonna read, if you can't handle the comments, do not read them. Period. End of story. There are 2 options. You either read the comments and you handle it, or you don't read the comments. You do not read the comments and not be able to handle it, because it will ruin your brain. So he has to recognize that. So I hope he takes this as positive feedback. I think he's a fantastic host. I think he's done, like you said, that I've said this a million times. If there's no Jared, the shows would be 10 times worse. End of story, period. But
1000%.
But I hope he takes that feedback of this week was not fun to listen to at all.
Yeah. Well, I think like I've never ever in a million years understood why they need to do it live. Just pre-record the thing. It's not like I cannot remember the last time I watched an SCL where somebody
don't need to record it
asked
live.
a really good question in Twitch chat that they called out and was like, "Wow, that's a great question. Let's ask the developers." It's always just
honestly
some,
good point.
I can't remember a Twitch chat I've been in where anyone said anything of use.
Yeah.
But like, what's the point of doing it live if you're not gonna engage with the community live in anything but the most like shallow and surface level way?
And negative.
Again, I'm not calling Jared shallow or surface level, but the way that the content feels a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think that's like literally fair feedback, and hopefully they don't take it personally, but hopefully they hear it, and that's it.
Yeah. I think that's it for me. Oh,
okay.
One just very quick final thing.
Real quick.
When do you think we get an engineering preview build? Just to theory craft a little bit from the German. I finally got around to watching your German
2029.
Yeah.
Look, so 4.2 is about to get delivered this week.
You have to assume whatever the next patch is, we'll probably see it, right?
Well, but they said tech. They're going to
so.
do the full tech preview channel thing. That's the first time they're going to use
for
that
sure.
thing.
Yeah,
so like
some
the
resources get like doubled though.
They'll release 4.2, and I think I don't think that I think that they have teams working on the current patch, and I think they have people working on whatever the next stuff is. So they're going to ship this, they're going to work on it, and then they're going to be hopefully 4.3 is a little bit of a chill sesh.
Yeah.
Because this was like a lot of stuff.
The global event thing, right? In 4.2.x.
Yeah. So that's going to be a big focus too. So I think sometime after that would be my guess, right? Is like the next patch, because that's 4.2.x. I'm talking about like the 4.3 kind of thing.
Yeah.
When I say
I would
next.
imagine, as it's most likely the only like feature we'll get this year, like not content, just like actual feature we'll get this year. I imagine they'll try to get the actual feature out by Christmas, which means I would think we would get the tech preview like within a month or two from now.
Yeah. But all right, Snugs, that's where we'll leave you, man, because we got about 20 minutes left on the show. I want to give the last two guys 10 minutes each.
Yeah, we appreciate the call. Thanks so much.
Thanks for everything you guys do as always.
Awesome.
Cheers,
Thank you. Thank you for being here, man. Yep. They make the show better when they call in. I don't think they realize that. So they're being nice to us. What's up, Hudson?
Good morning. Good evening.
Good morning. Good evening. So we got Hudson Hawk on the line.
First, Croncy, congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
For people that may already hear this for the first time, Croncy's going to be a dad. So
she felt a kick for the first time today, which is crazy.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Good,
nice,
good.
Nice. I'm going to keep this brief. I just want to complain about the Starlancer Max and sort of related to the Prowler.
I know I saw your message in the thing, so I know it. Like, yeah, it connects. But it is
Okay, I
very
couldn't
funny
see
to
it.
just be
Start-
like, I just want to
start
complain
out
about
like
this
that.
other thing, unrelated. Yeah.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
But the with the Prowler utility utilizing the drop-down cargo grid that loads from the bottom, they could have definitely utilized that in
Yeah, from like
Starlancer Max.
underneath. Yeah.
Yeah, and got rid of the stupid studio suite things habitation area.
Do you think that they maybe learned a lesson from the Max and went with
Probably,
this instead?
I don't know.
I definitely think they learned a lesson. I wonder if So loading from underneath, from like a player perspective, right? Well, first off, it's great. I love it so much. Like in how it actually used, you're 100% right there. I wonder if, like, from a player perspective, when you come into it, that feels very alien. It feels very unique and weird. And maybe they made the decision because of that, rather than it being a little bit better than the Starlancer, because it obviously does feel like they learned from the Starlancer because they are similar mechanics.
Mhm.
They're
But they
just
flipped them
flipped. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
because you just
Well,
don't
they
have
also
that as
kind
much
of
problem with collision. Just because some people are asking,
Yeah.
the Max is like really everything is very tight. It is made to be 1 millimeter on one side and 1 millimeter on the other side to fit its cargo. So when you utilize all of it, it is incredibly tight, and trying to maneuver anything after that, it gets really, really iffy. So the fact that it goes up and connects up, and then there's all this air below, gives you all that room. So that's what he's referencing.
Yeah.
Just to be clear for everyone.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Hudson.
And then oh no, that was just basically kind of it. It's
Okay.
just yeah, well, I was gonna tack on, like, they have a sort of similar mechanic with the raft when they redid
that's true.
the claws to the cargo grid, so you could attach from the bottom. They could have
Yep.
fair
have
enough.
technically utilized something like that. It would have been a little bit more tedious to load and unload, but the whole drop down thing was like, really? But
Yeah.
I guess
mean, it's a cool.
I will say the difference. It's not relevant yet, but like theoretically, a Starlancer, you could load like bikes onto the sides. I guess you got graveler bikes. You can load bikes onto the sides. You cannot do that with the Prowler. You cannot do that with the Mole, right? So no, not
Right.
the Raft. Yeah, yes, fair. Yeah.
Yeah. I assuming you will
unless
be able to.
unless they start utilizing the same, lack of a better word, technology for ground vehicles, so they snap to cargo grids like the Geos.
Yeah, but all right,
But
Hudson,
no,
sounds like you're done.
Yep, that was it.
Cool.
Have a good one.
Hell yeah.
All right, talk to you. That gives a good amount of time because we have a special guest. Obviously, we don't do guests that often anymore, but for like other creators and stuff, the calls are always open. So recently Morph was in the chat, and it was like specifically on a topic that he was very, very well versed in. So we kind of like made some room for him, and like little special guest moment today. We have AvengerOne that was in the chat and wanted to talk a little bit about stuff. I saw something. I think he's going to rant about one thing, because I know he loved dumb firing missiles, and now that's gone as well. So we'll give him some time there. So he's got 10-15 minutes ish. So it should be a good time. So welcome, Avenger. Can you hear us?
Okay, so dumb firing missiles.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I'm assuming we're talking about stealth, right? Because I want to stay on topic, because we only got a few minutes left. I know we've been going off in a bunch of different places, so
yeah. So the whole thing that sort of kicked this off was like they released this variant of the Prowler. It's
a PvE ship
in terms of
stealth.
Yeah, it's a PvE
like, it makes
ship.
no sense.
And in terms of like gameplay, it is basically a worse like Freelancer, but they're like all over on stealth. So like that in like how it works today, how it would like it to work in the future, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think it was pretty lazy. I think they just kind of wanted to sell something. That's what it felt like to me. But
same.
Yeah, but in terms of stealth, like I've been listening in for the last hour and a bit, and it seems like we've kind of blocked out how stealth works in the current build of the game, which has all kinds of problems. Furies disappearing at point blank range, all that silly stuff. If I was going to design a system, I'm a big fan of keep it simple, right? And I'll use a couple examples from my Eve experience, because Eve does a lot of things right. And when it comes to stealth, if you can visually see it with your eyeballs, you should be able to target it. Like if I can see it with my eyes, my computer should be able to identify the target. I think stealth should function.
Agreed.
Anything above visual range is where stealth really excels, right? So
before you
anything
keep
past
going, can we make a slight exception to that about some of the things that we talked about? If you can see it, then you should have the carrot below it and you should be able to target it. But maybe there should be some like counter options that people can use for like making targeting a little bit harder. Maybe it's the way you fly. Maybe it's chaffing, right? Shit like that.
I was going to get into that.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, there's some nuance there for sure, right?
Perfect.
And again, keep a simple system, right?
Yeah.
So I like the fact that if you present your entire front face or only the blade of the ship towards something, you should have a lower signature, right?
Yeah, it's
you
cool.
You should still be able to target them, but the signature and the targeting are two different things, right?
Yeah.
Being able to see a target and target it with your systems is different than putting a weapon system on it and tracking it.
Agreed.
Right? So, if I was to design the system, I would make it so that anything with 5 kilometer range, everything is targetable at 5K, no matter how big or small, regardless if it's in the air. If it's a ground thing, it's different. That should be much tinier. That should be like 500 meters to 1,000.
Okay.
Because ground targets in general are typically more vulnerable to air attacks, so you don't want them to be so easily picked up. We can get into other things later about lasing and other kinds of cast stuff, but to keep it simple, it's anything within visual range should be targetable at all times. But stealth is a lot of times misunderstood. So for example, in like today's modern battlefield, stealth is not like you don't fly straight up to somebody at point blank range and be like, oh, I can target them now. Stealth is all about signatures at long range. So if I can target you and you can't target me, I can put weapon systems on you, and now you have to go defensive and try to figure out, well, what is shooting at me, right? But this is all happening at extreme distances. I'm not saying Star Citizen,
right?
Yeah,
Real
I'm not
life
saying
is
Star
not fun.
Citizen. Yeah, I mean, just look at Iran, right? So it's just not a fun engagement zone. So we want to create something that is engaging and is fun for players, but also has counterplay to it. And what's happening is like stealth is this widely misunderstood thing that, I fly a stealth ship. It's like I'm flying a Klingon bird of prey. I can just stay cloaked all the time and hang out. And that's just not the case. But what it should be is completely based on signature and ability to engage. So what that means is, as long as you're not within visual range, like you're right on top of someone, you can see them, stealth should be essentially invisible, right? So later on down the road, when we start getting probes and things to scan, we use pings, we start scanning Daymar, we go out there in the universe. Yeah, I'm scanning, I'm looking, I'm like, yeah, Captain, I got nothing on scopes, I got no signatures, bouncing bag, and then you go to an area, and all of a sudden, 5 or 6 talons pop up, a couple eclipses, and you're in a lot of trouble because now you're being engaged by a superior force. They have the ability to choose their engagement, so they're going to come with larger numbers. That's how stealth has always been designed, right? At the expense of, let's say you have, obviously stealth isn't really highly armored. It takes a lot of trade-offs, lower power, lower energy, that kind of stuff. So EVE Online has something very similar, which you're aware of, Mike.
Yep.
And that is with
Croncy more than me.
Right? So you know what it's like with the covert ops stuff is covert ops is all about the macro battle and less about the micro battle, and in the sense that the game being played is on a larger scale. So the game being played with stealth ships is I'm trying to attack a target, let's say at Security Post Korea. So I'm going to position myself in the Stanton system in a way so that they're not going to see me, and then I'm tracking targets here, there, whatever, a bounty, for example. I'm going to set up traps, and then by the time he lands within visual range, it's too late. The fight's already over because you've got two times the numbers, X, Y, and Z. To me, that is how stealth mechanics should probably start getting implemented. And then, again, to keep it simple, you have systems like the Tracker Hornets, which can link with each other. So for example, if you have a Tracker Hornet, it can see things at 10 kilometers. right?
Yep.
If a tracker hornet can see everything at 10K, it can now battle link to the other hornets within its sphere and send that information to them. And so you create like these overlapping spheres of radar control, and they're connected with these nodes, which are essentially like, radar nodes, right? But you need those specific chips. You need the Terrapin, you need the Carrack, you need the Tracker Hornet. And so these things kind of create like an overall sense of control of the battle space. So you know where your threats are coming from at what times, and you can make decisions based off, okay, I need to send some fighters out there to intercept.
And
that's how I would
those
design
ships should be like giant balls of fire on the radar too, as like well as the counter, of course.
To support what you were saying, because you made it sound like it would have to be very complex, and I want to paint what I would envision that would be for gameplay. Is literally myself, Mike, and AvengerOne are in a group. And correct me if this wasn't exactly what you were saying, AvengerOne, but the three of us are in a group. I'm in a tracker. I see a target that you guys normally wouldn't be able to see. It just instantly updates and you guys can see it.
Correct. As long as I'm within range of you.
Gameplay-wise, it just does that.
Right. Yeah. If I'm, let's say 10 kilometers is the sphere of influence that the tracker hornet has. If it can't talk to me, and again, it's about talking, right? Sending and receiving data. So if I'm at 10K,
simple bubble mechanic, right? If I'm within that bubble, I get your information.
And I get this data. Yep.
Yeah, and that's all it is, right? So to me, I find a lot of times CIG, they overcomplicate things, and then they run into these problems where they get so complicated and it's so lost in the weeds, and then someone gets fired or someone moves positions, someone else comes in, and we start the whole process again. Things get broken, and for years and years, it just gets more frustrating as time goes on. And it just seems like, for example, like the last SCL, it just seems so lost in the weeds. Like they're just so confused. Like, oh yeah, well we think it's going to be like this, and we feel, and they're talking about feelings. And to me, I just want to beat my head against the wall because it's so frustrating. You know?
Yeah, exactly. I had some moments like that. I was like, I have not been that animated in React in a while. A couple times because it was just like, guys, like what are we saying right now?
What are we gonna do?
Yeah, so it was pretty frustrating. But other times I was like, okay, whatever, let's see what they got. And I mean, unfortunately we're at the mercy of them, right? So it's like we just got to deal with it, kind of thing. And once it comes, we're gonna give them the hard truths that we all figured out already by hearing what they talked and said, most likely. But yeah,
can I squeeze in one more thing before we?
Sure, we got 5 minutes.
So it's not exactly dumb firing, but why don't we have bombs in space? Like, why can't I release a bomb and let it carry its momentum in space? Like, why? I understand that the torpedo stuff on the Polaris recently was a bit of a meme. I agree, it's kind of silly, you know.
This is clearly their band-aid mechanic to fix that.
That's exactly it. Yeah, problem, they rushed to fix that because I was making Idris's embarrassed, and they weren't going to sell Idris's because people were commenting all the time saying like, oh yeah, you know, Idris is a big joke and blah blah, and they want to sell Idris's, so they patched that super quick. And they did such a band-aid job, and yeah, they ended up doing it based off of the distance of the ship instead of an actual 2-second fuse timer, which is what typically you'd have on a system like that. Just add an impulse, give us a bomb, and then the second you pull the trigger on the bomb, you give it a 200 meter per second impulse. Bam! It fires. It's nice and flat, and there you go. There's your dumbfire. Like, it allows people to line up for bomb strategies, you know, and make PDCs not pick it up because it has no signature. It's just a rock in space, right?
I mean, I remember watching a video of you just dumbfiring. Like, I think it was like, I can't remember what patch, but it was during your like I am pirating phase a lot. And you were just dumb. Well, no, but it's like when it first started and you were like making videos about it.
Yeah.
And it was like you were just dumbfiring people like crazy and just having the best time ever. It's
so fun.
Yeah. Dude. Why take that away? But I understand we both said why. They were trying to sell Idrisis, even though they had more people to buy them than they could. But whatever.
To clarify, A1, do you want like Eve bombs where it's like a radius explosion, or do you just want a dumbfire?
I want impact bombs.
What's so it has to hit the target.
Right, because
Okay.
what you're going to end up having is you're going to have people starting to fire bombs in radiuses, and you're going to start clearing out
Yeah.
fighter squadrons with bombs, and it's going to look silly. It's going to be dumb. So
yeah, I was gonna
just-
say like I love the idea, and it would be really fun of like
For the
shooting bombs in
Nautilus,
space. But I
that-
know for a fact that like
People
after what happened with
abuse
the
the
A2 would be
crap out of
terrible.
yeah, I could see that with the
Morph's
with
going to
the-
have an aneurysm, dude.
True. I could see that with like the Nautilus and mines kind of being like that, like proximity stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe, but
But
Yeah,
because
but have
they're
them-
theoretically stationary, there's, like,
yeah,
it's less abusable, you would assume.
Yeah, but you can make
Exactly.
those impulse mines too, right? So once you get within a certain radius, they basically gravitate towards you. And explode.
exactly.
Which I think is
So-
lore-wise what they're supposed to do, actually.
Yep. Yeah, I'm pretty
I
sure.
mean,
you're
I'm not
right
a big
about
fan
that.
of mines in general. I've never played a game where mines have been a really fun mechanic. I mean, name one game where mines have been a blast.
The reason Wing Commander.
Always.
That's why.
Get it? He said where mines are a blast.
Yeah, they always.
That's my last episode, guys.
Hey, dad jokes! Congratulations, you're getting ready.
It's a Wing Commander thing. I think that's why it's there.
Yeah.
To be honest, it was part of the level design of Wing Commander games. So I think he just was like, "Hey, we had this. Draw a picture and sell it, and now we have mines." I agree with you. I don't think that they're fun, but in Wing Commander was pretty. It was a nice. I guess it was.
There
cool
might
in
be
that,
something
yeah.
they can do with it, but it is like it's certainly a dangerous like concept. 'Cause
Yeah,
you just know that as always players will just abuse it to crap, right? So there needs to be
exactly.
like weird rules probably that need to be introduced with it and stuff. So
Exactly. I think it's why they never gave us the little proximity laser mines that they told us that players were going to be able to
Yeah.
set, right?
yep.
Eve had
Oh.
mines, remember that? And they got rid of that fast.
No, I never saw Eve
So,
mines. I mean,
Way
they have
back in the day.
bombing now,
they
which
used
is
to
really
have-
annoying.
Oh, I mean, Bomber's Bar, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yep.
It's just mines used to be such a problem. People would mine gates in Eve. They'd mine gates just to patrol people, and you couldn't even get around high sec. There would be mines everywhere, just thousands. Like it lasted a few months,
Yeah.
and the community basically was like, "You need to get rid of this," and they did.
Yeah.
The Eve is famous for just like adding the like if you take Reddit and all the trash talkers on Reddit and just condense them into a game, like that's Eve.
Yeah. And if there is something that can be abused, it will be abused to the maximum capacity possible.
Oh
Yeah.
pull your hair out.
Yeah. I can't wait till they start playing this game. It's going to be they'll just be
what I keep
boxes
telling
in front
people.
of every door.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everywhere.
Can't wait
There
until we
already
get the
is.
story of an Eve refugee turning off someone's power to win battles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
the SD's community is not ready for Eve. It's just
Yeah.
that simple. They're
No.
too soft.
But we've hit our
Yeah.
time, Avenger. So any
All right,
final
guys.
thoughts you want to give before we let you go?
Yeah, I think people should not give up hope. I think they should give
No.
lots of feedback, and they should. Apathy is the worst. That's where you've lost it, in a sense that it's okay to be angry because you still got your heart in the right place,
Yeah.
but don't get apathetic. Like CIG cannot get away with destroying the dream of Star Citizen, and it kind of comes down to us as the community to make sure we keep them honest. And when they say silly things or they lie about stuff openly, we should call them out on it. It's important. And we're not going to be able to make the game that we want if we don't step up and say stuff that needs to be said, right? And if they want to demonize us and they want to pull you off giveaway lists and be silly about it, that's fine, right?
Don't care.
People speak
It's
false about
annoying.
you, let them speak false. It is annoying, but don't give up. Like
Yeah.
the CIG needs you more than you realize, so keep giving feedback, even if it's negative. I mean, be a little more kind in some ways, but just don't give up. Don't be apathetic. Don't turn around and 2 years later be like, well, I never said nothing, and then complain about the game not,
No, never.
stepping
Also
in
be
and saying-
coherent with your feedback.
Yeah.
That's also really important. If you just say game bad, terrible mechanic, it's not particularly helpful for anyone,
No, yeah.
including
Yeah.
my brain.
That is still like people ask like, how are you still here if you hate the game so much? And I was like, number one, I don't. Like somebody made a comment on my YouTube channel about negativity and positivity and stuff like that, and I was like, did you ever think that like maybe I didn't hate the game and I loved it so much that I wanted it, like I thought it could be so good that I that I get frustrated by the fact that it's not
Yeah.
yet. Like, have we ever thought about that aspect? And it's like that's really where it's coming from. And did you ever think that people who like only make positive videos, like, because I think it was something about monetization, right? And it was like, did you ever think that people that make only positive videos are just doing it for the money? Because I think people think that like outrage makes money, and they don't really understand that it doesn't. Like clicks and things like that, maybe, but if you click on a video, get annoyed very quickly and leave, that is the worst thing you can do for a YouTube video and things like that. So
that's me. I hate watching that shit. Like if someone,
Exactly.
regardless of the topic, if someone is like actively super negative, I'm turning it away and I'm listening to music or some shit.
Yeah.
I
So
hate
it's my most successful videos have always been my most positive ones. And I can't express that enough. My frustrations come strictly from passion and from that I want the game to be good. And it's my only motivation still is it still has a chance to be good. Keep fighting the quote unquote good fight against these whales or whatever, and I use whale in the most negative term possible, not like hey you spent a ton of money. It's like the idiot kind of mentality.
Like the Japanese on South Park. Fuck you, whale. Fuck you, dog.
Yeah, or just whatever. Like I think on my TV channel or whatever, I've exposed what I mean by whale quite a bit. Is like the just like omega
People
selfish
who use money.
feeling.
Yeah, they just drop money on and expect everyone to wait on them hand and foot, and you're destroying the core of the experience. Right?
Exactly. Like you could have spent money on the game and not be a my definition of a whale, right? So that's what I mean. Very toxic whale.
Anyway,
thank you so
that
much,
went a little sideways.
God bless.
So thank you, A1. I appreciate it, mate.
Sorry. Yeah, we'll talk to you soon, though, Avenger. And he already backed out. So, but yeah, thank you for the call, man. And that was good. It was fun. So, always a good time. But that's where we leave the show. So, I hope you enjoy it. Like, I just came up with the topic on a whim this morning, and it was like, hello. I don't think you know that this is not stealth because we don't have stealth in the PvE or the non-combat realm currently, and this ain't it. So what do you want it to be? Let's work on this together, because I think we all want it to exist. I want to buy this ship in game or with some store credit or something like that. I want this to exist. Well, I don't want to buy this ship, but something like it, because 32 SCU can go kick rocks. But so
I'll get you on one more comment, Mike, which is where do you put the stealth stuff that we talked today priority wise at the moment? Where do you put it priority wise? Like I would say I would maybe want this pre-crafting is sort of where I'm at.
I think that's where we are, though. So yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely. Because the crafting should theoretically come with base building. I think we need to understand what signature, what radar, because you're going to be flying around finding random bases now. Like, I think we need to have this figured out. Believe it or not, I think it needs to be like one of the higher priorities. Where I think I might get some kickback on that, but I hope my explanation with the base building and that aspect helps people understand.
I think that's completely reasonable.
Yeah.
I like what High Lord just said. Post-engineering, pre-crafting. I think that's a good spot for it.
Yeah, and I think that's where we are. Yeah. Right? I think they're pretty heavy on engineering. I think they're pretty heavy on scanning. Probably two different teams. And hopefully we get there. But I think that's where we leave it. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. We really, really, really do appreciate it. So if you're watching us on Twitch, we are multi-streaming. So you can go ahead and follow both of us and check out our channels. Obviously, check out AvengerOne. And if one of the other guys streams as well. I'm sorry if I'm not familiar. I've not been watching as much Star Citizen content of late. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you can definitely hit the subscribe button. And there's many ways to support us financially if you guys want to go crazy above and beyond. And we do appreciate it when you do. So that's where we'll leave it. But thank you so much for watching, Croncy. Look forward to next week. I'm assuming we're going to be talking about our horrible experience with Stormbreaker.
Flawless. 4.2 perfect, no complaints.
Definitely. So with that said, thank you for watching, guys, and don't forget
to answer the call.
Bye, everyone. No cringes in